Hi, this is David Brenton with David Brenton's team. Today I've been asked to talk about top 10 hidden fees when buying a home, or sometimes known as just hidden fees when purchasing a home. I don't know that they're hidden fees, but there are several fees involved when you purchase a home. I'm going to go down through the list. First one that most people know about, but they really don't understand what is involved in it, are closing costs. People say, well, what are closing costs? Well, if you're paying cash, you're still going to have some fees involved in closing a real estate transaction. And when people say, what does it mean to close a real estate transaction? That means to bring the real estate transaction to a close. Buyers make their final settlement, they make their final signatures on a settlement statement, sellers sign the same statement, and basically the transaction is closed, it's done, it's finished. So whenever you do a real estate closing, there are fees associated, whether it's attorney fees, whether it's real estate commissions, whether it's appraisal fees, county fees. There's a lot of different things involved in that. And most of them are lumped into a group called closing cost. Buyer has closing cost when they purchase a home. Sellers have closing cost when they sell a home. But it is just part of the process of going through buying a home, and the closing costs vary greatly depending on what part of the country you're in. Some parts of the country you pay tax on the sale of a home, you pay tax on the services of the people involved in selling you a home. In some there are county tax stamps. So closing cost is a big variable. It's like the weather. The weather is local. You can look at the national weather map and you can see that there's storms out west, but if you're out east, are they affecting you today? So closing costs as well as real estate are local, so you want to talk to local professionals. They know the market, they know the fees, they know the expenses you're going to incur in the market where you're looking to buy a home. So one of the most important things about starting this journey to buy a home is hiring somebody to represent you and to help you navigate this process. I believe we're your best choice in Central Indiana, but you want to have a trusted realtor that can help you with this process. But there will be many steps along the way, and they will help you navigate each of those steps as they come up. In addition to closing costs, there are home inspection fees. When you find the home that you want to buy, you don't want to rely on just your few-minute walkthrough of the home and what you can see at a glance. You want to have somebody who's paid to represent you to go in that house, crawl through the attic, get up on the roof, look at the roof. If there's a crawl space or a basement, get down in the basement and check for things that you may not know to look for, or that you may not be able to see from where you're able to go in the home to look. People say, well, I don't know that I want to spend that money, but it's a whole lot easier to negotiate repairs before you purchase the home than to try to go back later and say, well, you didn't tell us about this. Purchase agreements are basically written as buyer beware. So as a buyer, you want to make sure you know as much as you can about the home, and you want to rely on your realtor to help you through this process. So people say, I'm buying a brand new home. Should I spend any money on a home inspection? It's brand new, and the city or county has inspected it. Why do I need to spend additional monies to do that? I personally recommend that you have any home you're going to purchase inspected. You want to have a trained set of eyes look at that. I bought a new home last year. I built homes for 18 years before I became a realtor over 30 years ago. I hired an inspector to inspect that brand new home for me. Yeah, they found a couple of things, but I felt better because another set of eyes were looking at that home. Because having built homes for many years, I especially know that there's a lot of people that show up and work on that home during the building process. Some of them are smarter than others, and you want to make sure that even though there's a job superintendent and there's a county building inspector, that they've seen all the things they can see that may cause you trouble with that home down the road. So it's my advice, always get a home inspected. If you're borrowing money, the lender may require an appraisal. An appraisal is done for the bank. Even though you're borrowing money, the appraiser works for the bank. Basically, the bank is sending the appraiser out to look at the house and make sure that the value of the home is close to what the value that you're paying for it is, because what they're doing is they're having it appraised to assess their risk in loaning you money as far as the value of your property goes. So the appraiser may go out and look at it and come back and say, yeah, it's worth what you're paying. It may be worth a little more. Most people don't realize that when an appraiser goes out to look at a home, the appraiser has the purchase agreement in front of them. They know what the value that you're paying for the home is. What they're doing is going out on behalf of the mortgage lender or the bank to say, yes, your risk is in line with this property. More than likely, they're not going to come back and say, oh, the house is worth $10,000 or $20,000 more than they're paying, because they're not asked to do that. They're just asked to make sure that the bank's risk is in line so they feel comfortable moving forward to purchase, for you to purchase the home. The next cost that we want to talk about is earnest money. It's not really an additional cost, it's part of the purchase of a home. But earnest money, also known as good faith money, is money that a buyer submits with the purchase agreement on a home. And basically they're saying, this is money we're putting up, saying we're in this, we are giving this money toward the transaction. And if we just flat change our mind and walk away, we're going to forfeit this money. But if the home doesn't appraise for the agreed upon purchase price, we have the right to receive the money back. Or if we have the home inspected and we can't come to terms with the seller on the necessary repairs, then we have the right to get the money back. Or if we can't get approved for the mortgage, most of the time the buyers have been pre-approved, but the actual approval process involves them providing factual data for all the things they told the lender, and their employer verifying their employment and their hours and all the things that go into that process, and making sure that there aren't any skeletons in the closet that the underwriter and the loan officer find when they're doing the mortgage process. But as long as they can get the mortgage to close, then they're bound to move forward. So earnest money is just money that's put up that says, we're in this, we're asking you to take the home off the market, we want to get this closed. But if one of those things happens and we can't do it, we expect the money back. But if we change our mind because we decide we don't want to buy a home, or we find another home that we think we'd like better, then we're going to forfeit that money, reimburse you as a seller for your expenses for taking the home off the market while we've tied it up during that period of time. Homeowners insurance is another expense involved in buying a home. When you buy a home, you have to furnish the lender proof of insurance for the next 12 months that you've got the home insured. Homeowners insurance insures both the borrower, the buyer, and the lender, that if something happens to the property, that they will be made whole again. So fire, flood, wind, a variety of things could happen, vandalism. Homeowners insurance is there to protect both the owner and the lender in case of a major accident or expense. The other thing homeowners insurance does is it protects the homeowner from a liability claim. Say you've got somebody over, they come to visit, they trip, they fall down the stairs, they slip and fall on the ice, and something happens to them while they're on your property. Homeowners insurance helps you as the owner make that person whole again because of something that happened on your property. So it's a requirement by the lender to protect you and them. When you purchase a home, you have to pay for it for a year in advance. And then if you have an escrow account, or if you don't, then the premium gets renewed each year for 12 months in advance. Another expense in owning a home is property taxes. The government loves to tax you. They tax you on the money you make, they tax you on the money you spend, they tax you on the money you inherit, but they also tax you on the property that you own. So property taxes in central Indiana are assessed based on what they call a 1, 2, 3% tax cap system. So if you're buying a home and it's going to be your primary residence, the state has a policy in place that the property taxes cannot exceed 1% of the assessed value of the property. Now, having said that, there are exceptions to that rule. And one of those exceptions is if the school comes to the general public and says, we need to raise money for a project for the school system, and this is what it's going to cost, and they submit it to the voters, and all of the voters agree that they want to pay a referendum in addition to the property taxes to support the school system, then that money is assessed in addition to the property tax base assessment. But property taxes are something you're going to live with whether you own a home or you rent a home, because it's just like having a mortgage. If you're renting a home, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. If you own a home, you're paying your own mortgage. Property taxes work the same way. If you're living in a property, you're going to pay either through rent or to the county property taxes. It's just whether they benefit you or they benefit your landlord. Another one of the fees we talked about is HOA fees, homeowners association fees. And if you live in a neighborhood where the neighborhood provides any kind of services or owns common ground, let's say you live in a home neighborhood with 100 homes and there's a common entryway with a sign, and the sign needs to be maintained and the grass needs to be cut around the sign. It could be as simple as that, or it could be as complex as you live in a neighborhood and there's a swimming pool and there's tennis courts and there's other things that have to be maintained. But homeowner association fees are just that. There are fees that the homeowners association deems it needs to operate on an annual basis to maintain and make certain that all the responsibilities that the homeowner association are responsible for are taken care of. So when you're looking at homes, you want to make sure that you include whatever HOA fees there are into your budget, so that you make sure that you've got money set aside for those each month, because they are not part of your house payment. Your lender will consider them when they're qualifying you for the mortgage, but homeowners association fees are paid by you as the buyer directly to the homeowners association. We seem to be covering a lot of cost, and there are a lot of costs involved in buying a home. There are also a lot of costs involved in owning a home. The first one is moving cost. Once you buy the home, you're going to have to move in. And moving costs may be as simple as borrowing your buddy's pickup truck and buying a case of beer for your buddies to come over and help carry things in, and that might be your total moving cost. If you're moving farther away or you're hiring professional movers, the cost can go up. There's also, I would consider a moving cost. Some people may argue there are other fees, but when you go to set up utilities, if you've not had an account with that utility company, they may ask for a deposit. So in my mind, that's part of the moving in cost that you want to make sure you account for. Whether it's utilities, whether it's physically moving, there are going to be some cost involved to you in making that move. Whenever you buy a home, there's always going to be some things involved in minor repairs, sometimes major repairs. But on an ongoing basis, you have homeowners maintenance. If you're living in a rental, typically you're paying the maintenance to the landlord, and the maintenance is done by the landlord or coordinated by the landlord. When you're the homeowner, it's your responsibility, it's your home. So whether you maintain it yourself or you hire somebody to come in and cut the grass, somebody to come in and clean out the gutters, or somebody to come in and shovel the snow, cut the grass, whatever. Those are responsibilities that go along with owning a home. So you're going to have maintenance costs on a regular basis. You're going to have repair costs as they come up. You know, some people say, well, you know, the house is going to need to be painted every 8 years. So if I'm being diligent, I would put 1/8 of that money in a savings account every year so that at the end of 8 years, I've got enough money to pay to repaint the house. In a perfect world, it works that way. Most of us don't live our lives that stringent and budget conscious, but think about it. A roof is good for 20, 30 years. Exterior paint on a house is good 5 to 10 years. You're going to have some caulking and some maintenance and some other things that need to be done. If you've got a concrete driveway, it's probably going to need to be sealed. If you've got an asphalt driveway, it's probably going to need to be seal coated. So there are things that go along with home ownership that you may not have incurred if you've been renting in the past or this is your first home purchase. So just keep those in mind so that you don't get surprised when you think, oh, I've got this much money left every month. Well, when you own a home, there's things you need to do to maintain it and take care of it, because that home is going to appreciate in value every year or almost every year. I've been in the real estate business for over 30 years. What I found is since the Great Depression, 1929 to 31, that in central Indiana, there's only been 4 years where home prices depreciated. And those were 2008, 9, 10, 11. And the rest of the time, home prices were either steady or they rose. So the money you put into maintaining and repairing your home is just money that you're putting in to improve your investment. Another thing to think about as you buy a home is you're probably going to need to furnish it. You may have moved from another home, you may have moved from an apartment or a rental home, or maybe you're moving into your first home, but you're going to have furnishings you're going to need. You don't have to go acquire them all day one or week one, but over time you're going to spend money on furnishings, and if you have new furnishings today, over time they're going to wear out and you're going to replace them. Nothing lasts forever, so it's just another expense to keep in mind as you're thinking about how to spend your money. And then whenever you own a home, there's things that you'll probably want to do to improve it. Different than maintenance. Maintenance is just taking care of it and maintaining, painting, caulking, roofing, cleaning the gutters, those kind of things to maintain it. But a home improvement may be upgrading a kitchen, upgrading a bathroom, replacing a tub with a shower, adding on a room addition, or other improvements that you want to do for your enjoyment and also you want to do for hopefully a return on your investment. My suggestion is you can Google what repairs or improvements add value to your home, but I would always consult with your local realtor and ask them, because in some parts of the country you can spend money on a kitchen and upgrade it this way and it may pay bigger dividends than if you do that in another part of the country. So again, real estate is local, so I would get local advice. But most people, when they put money into home improvements, hope to recover it or more out of it. And that's usually the case, but sometimes you're just doing things for your own enjoyment and your own comfort. So again, I would consult a realtor if you're looking at spending a lot of money and say, is this something that will pay dividends in the future, or am I just doing this for my own enjoyment? I hope all this information has been helpful. If you've got other questions that involve real estate, please reach out to me or my team. We'd be more than happy to help you. We want to be your real estate resource. We want to be there when you need us. And if you want to call us and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm thinking about doing that, or more importantly, I'm thinking about buying, selling, investing, or building, please reach out to me or my team. We'll be there. We'd love to help you. Thank you for watching.